and I started to run, and he kept pace with me. It became a mad dash for my car, and just as I got inside and started the engine, the man ran up and tried to open my door, but I quickly locked the doors so that he couldn't get inside, and I drove off, nearly running him over as I did. I headed straight to my aunt's house. When I arrived, I got out of my car, and I started to walk quickly towards my aunt's front door, when I felt something hit my arm, and when I looked down to see what it was a tranquilizer dart. Before I could even begin to understand what was going on, I saw the man that was following me walk calmly up to me as I fell to the ground unconscious. When I woke up, I was tied to a chair and blindfolded. Hi there. My name is Lisa, and this is a story about how I discovered that the one person who I had thought would also have my back turned out to be the most vile and evil person in the world. Trust me, once I tell you the whole story, you'll definitely agree with me. So my parents were quite wealthy. They had made a vast fortune from a cosmetics company that they started when they were very young. It had grown massive over the years, and they had factories and stores all over the world. They even tried to get their families involved with the businesses as well. Both of their parents did help to run some things, but my mother was an only child, and my father's sister wasn't very good when it came to handling money. My father would constantly give her money to start businesses, but they never really worked out, and she would lose all of the money that she had been given. At any rate, my parents had taught me from a young age how to run the business, and had even made plans that once I turned 18, that I would attend business school, so that I could learn even more, so that one day they could pass the business over to me. It was a lot to worry about, but I was confident that I could handle it. However, the worst possible thing happened. My parents were visiting one of the factories in another country, and they were mugged. And during the robbery, both of them were shot and died from their injuries. The months that followed their funeral were very hard for me. But luckily, my grandparents and aunt made sure to keep my spirits up as much as they could.
Oh, Lisa, we can't imagine how hard this is for you. But rest assured that we will make sure that everything is taken care of right now. And we can discuss you taking over after you are done with college.
Thanks, Grandfather. I really appreciate you guys looking after things. There is no way that I can handle it right now.
Yes, don't you worry. I'll take good care of the company until you are ready to.
Yes. I mean, it will mostly be your grandmother and myself. But don't worry about it. Just focus on school for now, okay? We will hold the company and your fortune in trust. And when you are ready to take it over, all you need to do is sign some paperwork.
It was such a relief, although it took quite a bit to move past my grief and start focusing on school. The first 2 years were very hard, but I eventually got into the swing of it. And with everything that my parents had taught me, I was able to start thriving when I entered my 3rd year. However, around that time, I started noticing something very odd. At first, I thought it was my mind playing tricks on me, but then I realized that there was a man following me. He was several years older than me and always wore dark sunglasses and dark clothing. It was terrifying when I finally realized that he was everywhere that I went, and I wondered just how long he had been following me before I noticed him. The night that I realized that he was there, I told my aunt about what had happened, but she was so dismissive of it that I began to doubt myself. I swear, there is a guy following me everywhere I go.
Are you sure? It just might be a coincidence, or maybe he's just a student as well, and he has taken a liking to you but doesn't know how to ask you out.
He's way too old for me if that is the case.
I'm sure it's just a coincidence. I bet that you won't see him again. I'm not sure what they are teaching you in college, but it's making you a bit paranoid. Trust me, you'll be okay. There is no one stalking you.
I swore I knew what I had seen, but my aunt really did have me doubting myself, and so I didn't tell anyone else about the man. And sure enough, the next day I didn't see him. In fact, for a couple of weeks I didn't see any trace of him. I breathed a huge sigh of relief when I realized that my aunt had been right and that I had just imagined a dangerous stranger following me. But then, after about a month, I saw him again. I had just gotten out of the library where I had been studying when I saw him out of the corner of my eye. The second that I noticed him, I stopped dead in my tracks and I stared at him and he stared back. Suddenly, I knew that I had to get away from him, and I started to walk towards the parking lot where my car was. Looking over my shoulder, I saw him walking after me, and I started to run, and he kept pace with me. It became a mad dash for my car, and just as I got inside and started the engine, the man ran up and tried to open my door, but I quickly locked the doors so that he couldn't get inside, and I drove off, nearly running him over as I did. I headed straight to my aunt's house. When I arrived, I got out of my car and I started to walk quickly towards my aunt's front door when I felt something hit my arm, and when I looked down to see what it was a tranquilizer dart. Before I could even begin to understand what was going on, I saw the man that was following me walk calmly up to me as I fell to the ground unconscious. When I woke up, I was tied to a chair and blindfolded.
Listen to me. If you want to live, then you will do as I tell you to. Do you understand?
Please don't hurt me. I'll do whatever you want. Just please let me go.
Good. I'm going to get something, but I'll be back.
I didn't know how long he was gone for, but it felt like hours. I suddenly began to panic and I struggled against my bindings. It was difficult, but I managed to wiggle my way out of them. Whoever he was, he clearly didn't know how to tie a knot very well. As soon as I took the blindfold off of my face, I looked around, and the room I was in almost seemed familiar. Slowly, I crept towards the door that was nearby and opened it and stepped outside to find that the reason it looked familiar was because I was in my aunt's house. Near to the room I was in was a chair with my purse and other belongings on, and as quietly as I could, I crept over to it and grabbed my phone. I could hear the man and my aunt talking in the next room over from where I was. Thinking quickly, I started recording what I was hearing.
Did you tie her up really well?
Yes, of course. I'm not an idiot. Do you have all the paperwork ready yet?
Almost. I need to make sure that it's airtight or else there could be legal issues. But once she signs this, I'll get her entire fortune and then we can kill her. Then there will be no one other than my parents to stop us from taking over everything, and once Lisa is gone, killing them will be easy. We can make it look like an accident just like we did with my brother and sister-in-law.
I barely got away with killing them, though.
Oh, stop being a baby. Just make sure that you get her to sign everything legibly, otherwise we won't get anything.
To say that I was shocked would be an understatement. In a panic, I snuck back into the room that they had held me in, and as quietly as I could, I called the police and told them where I was. Just as I told them everything about what was happening, I heard someone approaching the room, and I quickly hung up the phone and put my blindfold back on and made it look like I was still tied up. Just as I finished, someone walked into the room. With the blindfold back on, I couldn't see who it was, but I heard 2 sets of feet enter the room, and I assumed that both my aunt and my stalker entered in the room.
Okay, I have some paperwork that you will sign.
But if I can't see what I'm signing, then how will I know where to sign?
It doesn't matter if you can see it or not. I'll just guide your hand where to sign. I just want you to know that if you try anything funny, that my associate here has a gun trained on you and will shoot you if you attempt to flee.
I knew that I needed to stall them and give the police time to arrive and rescue me, and so I did my best to distract them. Will you at least tell me what I'm signing?
No, it doesn't matter what you are signing. But if you want to live, then you'll do as we tell you to.
I could hear him walking towards me, and I knew that once he found my bindings undone, that the gig would be up. I had no choice but to make a move, and so I pulled down my blindfold and stood up and grabbed the chair and swung it at my stalker. I caught him entirely by surprise as I broke the chair on his head, knocking him unconscious. I was right, and my aunt was also in the room, and the look of shock on her face made me incredibly angry. She panicked when she saw me knock out her partner and then ran out of the room. I wasn't going to let her get away, though, and I chased after her and tackled her to the ground and started to hit her until she was unconscious as well. Seconds later, the police burst into her house and an officer took me aside to ask questions, while the other officers arrested my aunt and her accomplice. Thankfully, the police assured me that even though I had attacked my assailants, that it was deemed self-defense and that I was in the clear. In the weeks that followed, I gave the recording that I had made to the police, and they investigated what was said and were able to prove that my stalker had indeed killed my parents. And when they went through his and my aunt's phone and text records, they found a trail of evidence that showed that the two of them had conspired to kill off the whole family, just so that my aunt could inherit everything. She was tired of always being broke and having unsuccessful businesses and wanted to just steal my mother and father's from them. It broke my heart to hear that she had had a hand in the death of my parents and that she was so evil that she had no problems at all in killing the rest of her family just to get my money. Considering the gravity of what she had done and what she intended to do, the judge in her case sentenced her to life in prison, while my stalker was sentenced to receive the death penalty for his part. Honestly, I wish that my aunt had gotten the death penalty as well. But a lifetime living in a small cell, all alone for the rest of her life, would have to do. Even though it was incredibly hard for me to do, I continued to go to school, and I graduated with honors the following year. It has taken years of therapy and a lot of effort to finally get to a place where I can say that I am happy and feel safe and comfortable. I did take over my parents' business, but I requested that my grandparents stay on for as long as they can to assist me in running it, to which they graciously accepted. Under my leadership, the company has grown quite a bit, and we are expecting record profits this year. I'm pretty sure that if my parents were alive, that they would be proud of how well I'm doing. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel.